Hi everyone, it's Tamara here with a fun card making tutorial using the gorgeous new image from Elvi Studio called Billy Aviator. I've made an interactive card today, so I'll be doing some Copic colouring and then finishing off with the card making tutorial. So we'll just finish up the colouring on the scarf and then we'll start the card making tutorial. I've grabbed some 240 GSM white smooth cardstock and I need to cut out 3 circles out of this cardstock. So 2 will be for the base and the third one will be for an ink blended panel that will be laying on the top. So I just am grabbing my scoreboard and I just need to score one of the circles at 1/2 inch, and this is going to create a hinge to make our card base. I like to do it this way because you get a full circle once these are put together. So I'll grab my Teflon bone folder, just give that a good burnish and put some liquid adhesive onto the top of that scored section, and grab my other plain white card circle and just place that on the top and give that a press down, just making sure that it lines up all the way around. Then we'll just check that that opens well, so you'll see this makes our card base, and I'll just give that a burnish to make sure that is adhered properly. So we'll just set that aside to dry and work on our card top. I'll be creating a sky for Billy to fly across, so I'll be using my Distress Oxides in Tumbled Glass, Mermaid Lagoon and Blueprint Sketch. I'm going to be having a bit of a cloud border at the bottom of my card, so I've just left a little bit of white at the bottom, but you can blend the whole panel if you wish. I'm just working with my domed sponge applicators and just starting with the tumbled glass at the bottom, the Mermaid Lagoon in the middle, and the Blueprint Sketch at the top. So I will get a little bit of the Mermaid Lagoon on the bottom of my card, but that doesn't really matter because I will have my clouds border over the top of that. So you will see a little bit of blue at the bottom once I finish. So we'll set that aside to dry. I also want a couple of random clouds on the panel. So we'll have the big cloud base at the bottom, and then I'll just have these 2 clouds running at the top of the card. So we just want to roughly measure out where we need our cloud border. So I'm just placing that at the top of my scrap of white cardstock, and now I'll just grab my circular die and also my card and just work out roughly where I'm wanting that cloud to sit and where I need to place my circle die. Now you just want to make sure your image is going to fit in with that cloud in order to line it up and make sure that everything is going to fit. So that's roughly where I want Billy to be placed. So we'll work out where we want our circle, then just grab some tape, tape that down, and we'll take that over to our die cutting machine. So we've got our cloud base all cut out now. So I think it's best to get the sentiment on there before we get everything stuck down. I'll be using 2 different stamp sets from Lawn Fawn to get the sentiment that I'm wanting, and I'll put the descriptions of which ones I've used in the description below. So I'm just lining my cloud in the Misty, and we'll just place the sentiments where I'm wanting them on the cloud base, and we'll get them inked down. So I'm just roughly placing them where I'm wanting, and then we'll line it up to make sure that they're centered and get that all stamped up. So they're lining up now, so we'll get that on the door. I've just grabbed my VersaFine ink. We'll stamp that up and we'll get that sentiment stamped onto our cloud. I'll just give that another coat of ink, press that down, and we'll just set that panel aside to dry. Our background panel is now dry, and I've cut 2 pieces of white cardstock and just glued them together to make a nice sturdy tab for our elements to sit on. And I'm roughly placing it on the card front to work out where I need to punch my hole in the tab. So you just want to ensure that that is underneath where the cloud will be. So I'll just grab that out. It's best to always measure a couple of times. And I'm just marking it with a pencil where I need to use my hole punch to punch my hole. So I've just done that. And now we want to place that back on the bottom panel because we need to punch a hole into the bottom panel as well. So again, just grab that cloud to make sure everything is sitting underneath and that you do have room to place some foam tape on your bottom cloud panel. So I'll just use my pencil just to mark the hole in the background panel and just pop another hole in there. Sorry, I'm doing this off camera. So I've grabbed a small brad and we'll get everything connected up to the background panel. To ensure you've got a bit of weight on the bottom of your tab, I've just grabbed a metal washer that I just had in my stash, and I'm just putting on some double-sided tape, and I'll do it again just to make sure that it's fully covered because obviously it does have that hole in the middle. You can just use a small coin if you've got one, and you can just stick your double-sided tape on it and just place it at the bottom of the tab. And that will just give it a nice amount of weight to swing. The metal washer is all attached now, so we're going to need to attach our tab to our card base. I've grabbed my brad, put it through the tab, and now we'll pop it through to the card base. Now, I actually learnt this tutorial from Laura Davallo. She is the interactive queen. So she actually puts a bit of paper or a card underneath the brad to make sure it doesn't go on too tightly, but I've just kind of lifted it with my fingernails and that seems to be working well. I've grabbed my foam tape and I'm going to be adding a small amount to the bottom section of the cloud border. Now you want to ensure you don't put too much on there that will restrict the movement of your swinging tab. So I've made sure that this is going to fit and not get in the way. So you want to make sure you go all around the outer edge, and that way it won't get in the way of that swing tab. So I've taken off all the release paper and now just lining that up with the bottom of the background panel to ensure that that is all lined up with the panel. Make sure that that arm is still swinging, which it is. Now, to ensure Billy doesn't fly too far, we're wanting to put a little bit of a stopper on either side of where the tab swings. So I've also doubled up some foam tape and just putting a couple of stoppers roughly where I want the tab to swing. So I've done it to one side and now we'll just do it to the opposite side. So I've just pushed it over to where I'm wanting and just popping that second lot of double-sided tape over there. Now, another good tip from Laura is to tape down your card base to ensure when you're putting your front panel on, it's lining up perfectly with how your card base is folded. So I've doubled up again on the foam tape that goes on the bottom of the front panel, and I've also added a little bit of liquid glue just to allow me a bit of wiggle room to ensure it does line up perfectly with that card base. So we'll just make sure that that's attached, and that double foam will allow a good amount of room for that brad to move. So I've just tested out before I add Billy to ensure that that tab moves back and forth freely. And now I've attached Billy and there he is flying back and forth just as I want him to. So just adding my clouds that I had previously die cut out. So I'm wanting one each side of him. So we'll place one at the top on the right hand side. And I'm just using my reversible tweezers to make sure I get that fitted because it is a little bit fiddly behind Billy. So we'll grab the second cloud and pop that on the left hand side, just a little bit lower than where I placed my first cloud. So just make sure we don't obstruct Billy, and we'll get that stuck down. Just make sure it's stuck down properly. Now I have put double the foam up on Billy as well to ensure that he isn't getting in the way of those clouds. So we're just testing out and he's flying perfectly.